Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to my channel, The Grafted Ones. I hope everyone has had a blessed week so far. I just wanted to come on here just real quick. It's not going to be long. And I wanted to talk to you all about godless children. And I mentioned that in one of my videos before. I just couldn't find where it was that I had it. But it's actually in the book of Sirach, which is also known as Ecclesiasticus. Okay? And Ecclesiasticus is a Jewish wisdom text according to, my research on the internet. And it is written by Yeshua ben Eleazar ben Sirach around 200 to 175 BCE. And it contains ethical teachings and is included in the Septuagint. Okay? The Septuagint and the Old Testament of the Catholic and Orthodox churches, but is considered non-canonical in Protestant traditions. So they took out this book, okay, because it was part of the Septuagint, which is probably the oldest version of the Tanakh, okay? Let me see what else is in here. So, Yeshua ben Eleazar was a Hellenistic Jewish scribe around 180 BCE. And the book is the longest wisdom text from antiquity and contains ethical teachings and moral instructions. And if it aligns with scripture, then I don't see anything wrong with it. I actually am in agreement with like the book of Enoch. Now there's a book of Enoch out there that's I believe is false, but there's the book of Enoch that was written, I believe, by R.H. Charles, that is legitimate. Let's see. Anyway, I just wanted to fill you in on what I have here in my notes that I found about godless children. So, in Sirach, chapter 16, verses 1 through 4, do not desire a multitude of worthless children, and do not rejoice in ungodly offspring. If they multiply, do not rejoice in them, unless the fear of Yahweh is in them. And here I have the Lord. Do not trust in their survival or rely on their numbers, for one can be better than 1,000. And to die childless is better than to have ungodly children. For through one intelligent person, a city can be filled with people, but through a clan of outlaws, it becomes desolate. And again, when I brought this up in one of my other videos, and I can't recall which one it is, when it speaks about pagan, strange children, that's what it's talking about. It's pagan children, okay? And Yah is not pleased when we bring up children that are not in the Word, like have not been brought up in the Word of Yah, okay? In Deuteronomy 6:7, it says, actually, Proverbs 22 Verse 6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And I tell you, brothers and sisters, this is one of the things or great mistakes, or I can't think of the word, or downfalls, I should say, that my husband and I failed to do. At the time, our children were still living with us and they were young, but at that time we were not saved. We were not following in the ways of Yahweh. Okay? We were even lost and didn't really realize that, you know? The more you know, the more knowledge you have, the more suffering, you know, there's a verse that talks about that. But, you know, you feel it. You feel like you did a great disservice. You feel like you should have done better as a parent, you know. I don't know if any of you have been in our shoes, but, you know, once a child has grown up and the word of Yah has not been instilled in that child or children, it's really hard to talk to them then when they're adults, okay? It's hard when you're trying to teach them all over again the right way, because by that time the enemy has already got a hold of them, you know. So we need to try, if we have children, you know, they grow up fast, and we need to train them up righteously, so that they walk the way they should, okay, and also in holiness, okay. And I've heard someone say, well, you know, they're too young, like, you know, if you have a toddler, they don't understand. Well, you know what, you can start off small and tell them about the commandments and tell them who Yah is, okay. I mean, you'd be surprised. They're like little sponges. And also in Deuteronomy 6:7, it says, you shall teach them diligently to your children. What is it that you need to teach them? It's impressing Yah's precepts on their minds and penetrating their hearts with his truths. Okay? That's why we shouldn't be teaching them about these pagan holidays, because that's what they are. Okay? When you do that, brothers and sisters, you're lying to your children. How are they supposed to take you seriously later on when you try to tell them the truth? Okay? Children look up to their parents, you know, and rely on them to be honest with them, to take care of them and nurture them. And by nurturing, it isn't just nurturing them with clothing and food and warmth and a roof over their head. It's nurturing them, you know, with the word of Yah. Okay? And again, it says here in Proverbs 22:6 that if you train up a child in the way he should go, which is in the commandments, following the commandments, that when he's older, he's not going to depart from that way. Okay? So, teach your children Yah's commandments, his precepts, diligently, it says. Okay? And put it so that it'll be on their minds and penetrate their hearts with his truths. And shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk on the road, and when you lie down, and when you get up. That means all the time. Okay? And that is why, you know, this scripture requires us to wear the tzitzits. And I know some of you may not agree. I wear them as a reminder, okay? And there's times when, yeah, I may forget, or I run out of the house, I'm like, oh, I forgot to put them on. But it's there as a reminder of Yah's commandments, okay? And it's not my word. It's what Scripture says. Okay? And if we believe that we're to keep the Torah and we're to keep and we're to believe in all of Scripture in the Bible, okay? Not just the end, the little sliver at the end of the Bible. It's not just that. If we believe that the whole Bible is for our good and our instruction, then we should be also keeping the Torah laws and commandments. Okay? It isn't just the 10. Now, Scripture says it's the whole duty of man to keep the commandments. Okay? And I have a video on the keeping the about the 10 and the whole law. Okay, if you want to watch that. But anyway, I think it's a double video that I made. And then in Deuteronomy 11:19 it says that thou mightest fear the Lord thy God, which is fear Yahweh thy Elohim, okay, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee. It's not just the 10, brothers and sisters, okay? We are to keep all of his statutes and his commandments. It says, which I command thee. It's not a question or if we want to keep them. These are commandments. It says, which I command thee. Thou and thy son, you and your son. That means in your children or your daughter. Okay, it says, and thy son's son. So even your grandchildren. All the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. And ye shall teach them your children. I don't know if I made a typo there. And ye shall teach them to your children. Probably should say, speaking of them, when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. Okay? And that's just like Deuteronomy 7, where it's telling us here that, we're to speak of them all the time. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say, brothers and sisters, because I remember at one time I was trying to find this, where I found this, and I couldn't find it, and it just popped up in my notes, and so remember, if we have children, we need to train them in the right way while it's early in their years, okay? Because once they grow up, good luck with that. I mean, it's, the thing is, they know right from wrong. Plant the seed, okay? They should know right from wrong. They have a conscience, like a God-given conscience, okay? And they should know what, if they're telling a fib, which is a lie, doesn't matter if it's a little white lie. They know it's a lie. Doesn't matter if they're 3 years old, 5 years old. If they're lying already, okay, I'm sure they know that it's wrong. But it's up to us to teach them and to discipline them, because if we don't, it's going to be way worse for us in the long run. And I tell you that from experience. And I'm not saying that my children are the most horrible kids in the world, okay? But remember, scripture also says that none of us are good. Not one. Only Elohim is good. Okay? That's what Yeshua said. But from experience, since we didn't teach our children the right way at the beginning, it was never consistent. Yeah, I took them to church here and there. But then again, the church doesn't teach us the truth. It's always partial truths, and partial truths is a lie. Okay? But because of that, now they're adults. We only got a chance to make it right with our youngest daughter. And it's just best that hold on a minute. All right, sorry, brothers and sisters. Something was bothering me. Anyway, so from my experience is that, with our children, I mean, if my husband and I learned the truth and we repented and changed the way we live and returned back to the Father, okay, then they can do the same. So they're old enough to make a decision, and everyone will be responsible for their actions. Okay, we're all going to be judged. Excuse me. And we need to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. So that's all. I don't want to stay on here long. Just know that the importance of teaching your children in their early years before Hazatan gets a hold of them. Okay? And let us keep our children and our families in prayer and supplication that Yahweh will hear us and that He will touch their hearts. Okay? So, until next time, brothers and sisters, Shalom!